Welcome to the Big Book Roundtable and the RICO 12 family of recovery resources. We're grateful to be here to be a resource for anyone in any fellowship, anywhere in the world, as we go line by line through the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. RICO 12 is a resource for all of you. I'm Justin B. I'm a child of an all-powerful and perfectly loving God and a multidisciplinary addict living in miraculous recovery. Man, I am so grateful to feel and experience the promises, the happy, the joyous, the free that comes as I strive imperfectly to practice these principles in all of my affairs. But today I'm joined by David G. and Nikki M. The three of us are striving to continue to live in this miracle of recovery one day at a time. Now, let's have David jump in, introduce himself real quick, and then we'll go to Nikki after him.
Yeah, absolutely. And Justin, thank you for your service as always. And Nikki, always good to be at the table with you. I'm David G. I'm an alcoholic addict recovered by the grace of God from Oklahoma. Been in the room since August 8th of 1994. So super happy to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Nikki, introduce yourself too, please.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nikki M., and I'm a grateful member of many, many fellowships. And I'm just glad to be here today. I'm excited because I know what page we're going to go over, and I just have been repeating one of these sentences in here till I'm blue in the face. So I just can't wait to dive deep with you guys and live this design for living. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikki. And to anybody who may be new to the Big Book Roundtable, you're jumping in right here in the middle of where we're at. It's a great place to be here today, but I also invite you to go back and check out the other things. I'm already getting a lot of feedback about the pages that we've started here. The last couple of times we've recorded, like back with the actor when we're starting at step 3. This stuff in this chapter has really had a lot of effect on a lot of people. So don't just start here. Go back to you can go back to the beginning and follow this through because there's some good stuff here. And if you're working with a sponsee, for example, and they have some issues on a certain page up through, today we're covering pages 66 and 67 up through there, go back and find that episode, share that with them, and maybe they can get some additional insight into that. All right, let's get reading here. Today we'll start, like I said, on page 67. We'll start at we turned back to the list, and we'll go through towards the bottom of page 67. I think I said 67. We start on 66. We'll go back towards the bottom of page 67 when we set these matters straight. All right, I'm going to start reading. We turned back to the list, for it held the key to the future. We were prepared to look at it from an entirely different angle. We began to see that the world and its people really dominated us. In that state, the wrongdoing of others, fancied or real, had power to actually kill. How could we escape? We saw that these resentments must be mastered, but how? We could not wish them away any more than alcohol. This was our course. We realized that the people who wronged us were perhaps spiritually sick, though we did not like their symptoms, and the way these disturbed us. They, like ourselves, were sick too. We asked God to help us show them the same tolerance, pity, and patience that we would cheerfully grant a sick friend. When a person offended, we said to ourselves, "This is a sick man. How can I be helpful to him? God, save me from being angry. Thy will be done." We avoid retaliation or argument. We wouldn't treat sick people that way. If we do, we destroy our chance of being helpful. We cannot be helpful to all people, but at least God will show us how to take a kindly and tolerant view of each and every one. Referring to our list again, putting out of our minds the wrongs others had done, we resolutely looked for our own mistakes. Where had we been selfish, dishonest, self-seeking, and frightened? Though a situation had not been entirely our fault, we tried to disregard the other person involved entirely. Where were we to blame? The inventory was ours, not the other man's. When we saw our faults, we listed them. We placed them before us in black and white. We admitted our wrongs honestly and were willing to set these matters straight. Okay, there's a lot of good stuff in there that, as Nikki said, she's been repeating till she's blue in the face, and I also have parts of this reading as my daily life too. But let's start off with David today. David, why don't you take us through here and talk to us about some of the things that jump out at you and dive into that?
Yeah, absolutely, Justin. We've been talking about this condition of mind called self and how it manifests in our lives. And, on page 64, it says, this manifested in various ways is what had defeated us. So we had to consider its common manifestations, and we've done that up to this point. If you've done this work up to this point, you've now got a pretty good idea how self manifests through our emotions, through our thoughts, through our concepts, through our beliefs. Anger and resentment is the number one offender. That's why there are so many names usually on the list. That list is so important. People, institutions, and principles. And when we get to principles, the way that I was taken through this work and the way that I take everybody through this work is we have to look at the things we hate about us, no matter what that may be. I'm damaged. I'm fat. I don't have enough hair. I'm ruined. I'm not smart enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not this. I'm not that. All of these things that this self-defeating voice in our mind continues to tell us. The problem is it'll twist it and turn it outward and make it look like other people are doing this to me. And I become very angry at them. But you see, it's not them. It's the things that we describe in the third column, the 7 areas of self. So today, we've finished all that work. If you've done this up to this point, you've finished all 3 columns. Now you're ready to move in what's commonly known as the 4th column. We call them the turnarounds. And the reason we do that is because of what you read here today. So this list is very important. It's been set off to the side, but now we're going to come back to it. It says we turn back to that. And what an awesome promise right here. It holds the key to my future. How the hell is that possible from a list? Could that be? I mean, because that list is very ugly. It doesn't look very good. How is it that's going to hold the key to my future? Well, our book says we're prepared to look at it from an entirely different angle. I have been prepared up to this point. I have been walked through the first 3 steps. I see that there's no amen at the end of step 3. So I'm still very, very deep in prayer. So I've been prepared for this. And now I'm going to look at it from an entirely different angle. So we began to see that the world and its people really dominated us. That was column 1. That was the list we wrote in column 1, the world and its people. Column 2. In that state, the wrongdoing of others, this is column 2, the cause, whether I made it up or whether it's real, and trust me, I've done both. It actually has the power to kill me spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and if I continue on this course, eventually it's going to be physical. How the hell can I escape? We saw that the resentments must be mastered, but how? And that's my question, Who can honestly master resentments? Well, the book says we can, but how? Because I can't wish it away anymore than I could alcohol, lust, sex, food, any of the other stuff. So here's my course. We realized, and if you look at that word as a spiritual word, that just really means with your real eyes. When I see Justin and I see Nikki with real eyes, I don't see them with hate. I don't see them with bitterness. I don't see them with fear attached, lust, or any of this stuff. I see them as brothers and sisters because I see them with my real eyes. So I realize that the people who wronged me, column 1, were perhaps spiritually sick. Though we did not like their symptoms, that's column 2. And the way that these disturbed us, this is column 3. They, like us, were sick too. And like us is the part I always forget. They're sick, No, the book says they like us because we've all been asleep and we've not awakened to this yet. And some of us have been in these rooms for a long time. And we continue to wake up a little bit at a time as we go. But some of us just go to meetings, don't drink or don't use or do whatever it is we do. And we stay in that same mindset and we just get sicker and sicker. There's action here. And this is really a powerful part of the book to take action. I hold every one of my guys up right here. I'm like, no more writing. And they're like, really? And I said, yeah, no more writing. we're going to do something different. We're going to pray this list now, because that's exactly what the book tells us to do. We ask God to help us show them, the people on that list, the same tolerance, pity, and patience that we would cheerfully grant a sick friend. When a person offended, now this isn't only while I'm doing the writing, hell, this is in my everyday life, day to day now. I say to myself, I don't have to say to them, I don't have to say to my buddies. That's one thing that I've really been convicted of, is talking a lot of crap around other people when no one else is around. I've really, by God's grace, been able to tone that down. So I say to myself, this is a sick man. Not from a place of judgment, that sick bastard, you know. No, from a place of compassion. God, this is a sick man. How can I help him? Save me from being angry, because the book told us 6 times on page 66 that anger was going to kill us. Thy will be done. So off the course a little bit, what my sponsor had me do in this area of the book, he had me to stop. And he had me to remember a time when there was somebody that I loved very, very dearly that was in a hospital bed, that was dying, somebody that I really went to God in prayer with for him to heal them or save their life. Now, for a long time, it was just my grandson. When he was 4 years old, he really went through an episode. We thought we were going to lose him, and I can just remember praying, unlike I'd ever prayed. But just recently, I had an aunt pass that was as closer than my mother. She was more like my mother. And I can remember the same thing for her. So here's my course. I'm going to take every name that's on that list, and I'm going to get quiet. I'm going to do it one at a time, not the whole list, but one at a time. And I'm going to envision that grandson in that bed, or that aunt. And I'm going to take them out of that bed, and I'm going to put each person on this list in that bed. And I am going to pray with the compassion that I prayed for them. And this is what I'm going to say: God, this is a sick man. How can I help him? Please save me from being angry. Thy will be done, because that's the one thing that cuts me off from this power quicker than anything else. It's anger, judgment, resentment, fear. And I'm going to do that for that entire list. Now, if there's someone on there that I have not yet been able to forgive, and I move into this next part of the writing, I'm carrying that with me. I'm not free yet. So I'm not letting my guys come out of this part of the work until that is completely gone with every name on that list. And they say, well, that's not possible. It is possible, because prayer is more powerful than my idea of what, of justice. So, in essay, they say it's either justice for everyone or mercy for everyone. And since you're a part of everyone, you choose. Which one do you want, justice or mercy? Now, there's a prayer in the back of the book on page 552, and a lot of the people, the older guys in the program, they don't agree with that prayer back there, but I don't care if they agree with it or not. I know it works. And so when we use this prayer and we use this exercise, and they still have one or two they're hanging on to and can't get rid of, I have them go to that prayer in the back of the book on page 552 and pray it over. The book says for 2 weeks, until they completely get free of that. When they come back and they say, okay, David, man, I'm free in a way that I could have never even imagined. And I tell them, here's the deal, because this is what was told to me. You can never bring it up or charge it against them ever again. I had a man and some stepbrothers that molested me when I was young. I had no power over that. And I just could not get past that. But when I went to the back of the book and prayed that, I realized they, like me, were sick too. And so our book says we avoid a retaliation or argument. That's not only outwardly, that's inwardly as well. I wouldn't treat my grandson that way. I wouldn't have treated that aunt that way. I wouldn't have treated sick people that way. The book says if you do that, you're going to destroy your chance of being helpful to anyone. And I love this. Thank God for this sentence. We cannot be helpful to all people, but at least God will show us how to take a kindly and tolerant view. And that word view is connected to the awakening. I'm going to view them differently. Back to the list. This list is so important. Don't throw this list away. Whatever you do, don't throw this list away. You're coming back to it again. But only this time, we're going to put out of our minds the wrongs others have done to us. Now remember, that's column 2, the cause. Now I'm going to look for my own mistakes. I hear this a lot. My part, I need to look at my book. Doesn't say my part. If I got a part, then you got a part, and we all got parts. The book says, no, it's just a mistake, David. I have guys write me and tell me all the time I fell short emotionally today. I'm like, it was a mistake. Don't worry about it. Get up, move on. But let's look at this. Where have I been selfish? Now, I have templates on this and stuff that I could definitely send if Justin wants to put my email in, or if he wants all it. I have every one of these. Where have I been selfish? What did I really want out of this situation? Was it all about me? Did I care anything about your desires, your wants, your feelings, your concepts, your beliefs, your ideas? Or did I just slough that off and take complete advantage of you? Dishonest. What was the lie that I actually told? Did I tell a lie about you? Did I tell a lie about me to get you to think better of me? Was I dishonest in my marriage, in my relationships? Self-seeking. What was I seeking for self gratification at your expense? What was I really looking for here? And of course, frightened, which drives all of it home. What am I really afraid of here? Am I afraid of you? Am I afraid of me? Am I afraid of God, our relationship? What am I afraid of today? That people will find out who I really am and they won't love me anymore? What's my fear? I'm going to get all this down on paper. Though this situation have not been entirely my fault, I'm going to try. It doesn't mean I'm going to, but I'm going to try to disregard this other person on that list, column 1, involved entirely. And people leave this question out. Don't ever leave this question out in your inventory writing. Where was I to blame? Prayerfully come at this. Take a look. Well, I was not spiritually fit. I was dealing with shame issues. I was dealing with guilt. I took complete advantage of you. I've been in the program for many years. I wasn't practicing steps 10 and 11. I never went to God. I never ran this through the God filter. I lied to my sponsor by omission. Where the hell was I to blame here? And I need to look at this. The inventory is ours, not theirs. When we see our faults, we list them before us in black and white. We admit our wrongs honestly, and here's some 8th and 9th step work. We admit these honestly, and we're willing to set these matters straight. This is a very powerful part of the book and the work. Don't miss it, because if you do, self will emerge one more time. It'll feed us a lie. We'll believe it, take action on it, and then we'll feel like we've separated ourselves from God and our brothers, and here we go all over again. I've done it many, many years over. But today I honestly see that, I'm no longer blocked. I'm free. So really good to be here. Thank you for letting me share.
Yeah, thanks, David, for that deep dive into there. I got a lot of insights there, and I'll ask you a question here in a few minutes. But Nikki, why don't you take a few minutes and go through these paragraphs also and talk about some of the things that jump out at you with your experience, strength, and hope.
Well, thank you. And I love you, David. And I say to everyone, Justin and I are here and we, give our input, but really everybody, I invite everyone, come to hear David G go really deep into these things. And you know that, Justin, because we're both being sponsored in this moment half the time. So you did such a great job, David. I'll just go to some of the points that I mean, everything you said is pretty much in my book. Where it said, we turn back to the list. We were prepared to look at it from a different angle. So when we go, I have an exercise that I do with people. This is not before they have to write their column 2, as we've already written their column 2. So after, when we're talking in the 5th step, I go back to column 2 and I say, let's look at column 2 about the fancied or real had the power to actually kill. So we'll go through. So my sponsee's Bill, and I'll say his attention to my wife in column 2, the example on the previous page. Is that fancied or real? And then, my sponsee, well, I need an answer. Is that real or fancied? Well, I don't know. So it's in my mind. So it's fancied. There you go. Told my wife about my mistress. Is that yes, he did. That's real. Brown may get the job. You don't know that. That's fancied. So I'll take him into those 3 things and I'll say, do you see that 2 out of 3, you are full flight from reality? You're not even in reality because you're living in fantasy world. So put that on your list of things. You're a fantasy addict and only one thing is real. So do you see how column 2, the one, you're not even living in acceptance. So let's go deep in acceptance. Let's page 417 until you believe it, know it, walk it, talk it, every cell in your body, your belief system. She's in like all these things. So I always recommend people do that with your sponsees. Go through column 2 and get a fancy to real off each one. Then you can disregard all the fantasy stuff because that's full flight from reality. And then you can get your sponsee to look, you better accept this or die. It says it's going to kill you. So that's what I do on that fancy to real part. I love that. Now, this is our course. See, I go deep with people. This is the course we took. Like, we're in this lane. We don't get out. This is the lane we have chosen. See, those other lanes didn't work. Remember, all that other stuff doesn't work. So this is the course we chose. And I love that, you know, David, and we're all into spelling. This puts us in a spelling. So real eyes, you know, intimacy, into you, I see me. All words matter. That the people, the human race that wronged me were perhaps spiritually sick? My line out says yes. I get my sponsees to answer that. And the same thing, the symptoms, column 2, column 3, they were sick too. So I go deep. Everyone is sick. We are all sick running around. We have to ask God. It doesn't say call your sponsor, Nikki. It says ask God to show them tolerance. Are you doing that? What's tolerance, Nikki? Well, I'll give you a couple examples. Being courteous and interested in every person you meet, refusing to look down on people or even be critical, relinquishing the need to be right, you know, letting others be wrong. Let them, I don't need to prove they're right, be tolerant, or that they're wrong. Let them be victims of sick pride. I don't need to be involved. Always recognize a personal need for help. That's how I can be more tolerant. I can give credit freely. Oh, Nikki, you did a great job. That wasn't me. That was the entire team. Thank you. Don't look at me. How can I be more tolerant? Stop being a show off, make an amends promptly, and be quick to correct everything. Remember, we're course correcting constantly. This is our course. Or do we just want to crash the plane into the Grand Canyon because we're burning our life into the ground? Or do we want to try and course correct and land that plane safely in God's will? So the prayer. And it says to ourselves, David and Justin, I have looked at an ex-lover and said, you are a sick man. God save me from being angry. It says to ourselves. It doesn't say look at the people in the eye and say that, Nikki. To myself, you know, line out. That's my resentment prayer. That's my anger, blame, forgiveness prayer. Of course, I avoid retaliation. I'm really good at that now. I can just sit and be alone. But argument, my need to be right. See, I don't follow these directions, and every time I'm in here, but I have to remember, if anyone's perfect, please call up, please, email us, and we will give you, I'll personally give you a $500 gift card if you are perfect. Just call us. So I have to remember that no one's perfect, and we wouldn't treat a sick person like that. You guys, I've leaned over alcoholics because I'm my original fellowship is Al-Anon. I need you to be okay, so I'm okay. Screaming while they're drunk, foaming at the mouth. How could you? Why? I don't do that to people who have cancer. I don't do that to my friends who have AIDS. I don't do that to people who are suffering from a endless amount of diseases and problems. So why am I doing it to the alcoholic, to the drug addict, to my friends who are dry drunks like me, Al-Anons running around like chickens with our head cut off, screaming at each other? Tolerant view. There it is, to everyone. I've got to take all of the shots all of the time because I'm going to miss some of the shots some of the time. So I got to try to be tolerant to everyone because I will mess up. Now, here's the line that I've been sitting on. It's in this paragraph. This is every day. Everybody, I want to go real deep and then we'll get to the questions. I know I want to keep everyone on here for a long time, but this paragraph, everyone, if you live your life like this, remember, this isn't just for a 4th step. This is how you live your life. This is a design for living. So every day, Nikki, put out of your mind the wrongs others have done, your government, the principles, everybody, everything, the world, and resolutely 100%, no half measures, look for your mistakes, Nikki. Where have you been selfish, dishonest, and all that stuff that David went into? But I love this part. You disregard the other person entirely, Nikki. Entirely. You disregard everyone all day, every day. Go deep. I am always to blame. I'm always to blame. I've been asleep. David just said it. You can be here a long time. I am waking up. Literally, I've been angry for 12 years. I'm going through ups and downs. Everyone, if you know my story, I have a long distance relationship for 6 years. We've survived COVID, both of us unvaxxed, 2.5 years not seeing each other. And these last few, I want to say last year, I've just been angry, and I'm just seeing it now. I'm to blame for everything. See, the inventory is mine, not the other person's, place, things. I've been taking everyone's inventory. See, I'm good at listing everyone's faults, but mine. When I see my faults, this is so simple. I've been arrogant. Most of you guys know I work a real simple program, but that's why I'm glad to be here with David, because he goes deep. I've just been self-loathing, rude, suspicious, envious, selfish, self-seeking, intolerant, greedy, lustful. I have the crown for that. I've been living in anger. I've been a sloth. I've been afraid of everything. And I'm here, Noodle Nikki. This is not easy, you guys. Put it in black and white. Shrink that shit down. That's not just for a 4-step. That's for everything. It's too much in your mind. Write your list down. Write your grocery list. Write your to-do list. Write your life list. Get things on paper. You have to shrink it down, black and white. And then I admit my wrongs. And I love what David said. This is where a lot of people miss. We're already people on page 67 on steps 8 and 9. We are looking at how to set these matters straight. We're not running out and doing it. We're already in the solution. If you're a good sponsor, you are really showing your sponsees how they can start setting these matters straight today by being tolerant, by doing the prayers. I love the big shovel prayer on page 552. God, I love this life. And I am not well, everybody. I'm sick too.
Thank you, Nikki. I've got a couple of questions. So David, for you, I want to start with you. You talked about how you call, like, the fourth column the turnarounds. I'd like to understand why you call it that and what that looks like, that turnaround that you brought up there.
Yeah, absolutely, Justin. On page 66, where you started today, the first 3 words says we turn back. And if I'm to turn back, I'm going to have to turn around in order to do that. And so we're talking about turning around from a system of thought that has literally driven our life into the dirt, and most of us very sober. And so I can definitely relate to what Nikki was talking to about all of the fruits of the flesh, the anger, the lust, the envy, the greed, but our book and other books tell us as well, when we have this awakening, we will begin to experience peace and love and happiness and joy. But what that looks like for me is I begin to experience a whole lot more peace of mind when these things come up now. I have tools in order to deal with them. I can go to prayer rather than going to my idea of putting the hurt on somebody. And that's what I would have done. No questions asked. I would have hurt somebody physically very quickly. And I don't think that way anymore. There has been a turnaround in my thinking. Now, this is one of the first times that the book in all 4 categories are going to mention the 4 absolutes. And people say, well, where do you see that at? Well, you see the opposite of them there in the 3rd paragraph of page 67, selfish, dishonest, self-seeking, and frightened. The 4 absolutes is unselfishness, absolute honesty, absolute purity, absolute love. And the opposite of love is fear, So this is where once that we can see the way that we've treated people, and I have to write this out in order for me to be able to see that, then I can say, what is the opposite of these? Well, obviously it's love, it's absolute honesty. And although that's something I cannot attain 100% every day, all day, it's damn sure an aim that I can aim for. And here in the last little bit, it's become easier and easier for me to do that. The 4 absolutes are mentioned in the 4-step inventory, the 10th step daily, and the 11th step nightly review. And so all through our book, we see them, but right there, we see them in their entirety. So this is very important for me to turn around, turn back, emotions, thinkings, ideas, concepts, beliefs, attitudes that have defeated me that are called the self, and turn toward the spirit, which is absolute love, absolute honesty, absolute unselfishness, and absolute purity. This is where we're headed. And there's a new creation about to be born. Now, we had a good glimpse of that in step 3, but by the time we finish up this inventory work and do our 5th step, oh my God, it's unbelievable. We definitely will walk hand in hand with the spirit of the universe, and those fruits are much different than what we're reading here today. So thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, David. I appreciate that walk in there. Nikki, this question, fancied or real, I love how you talked about how you pause with your sponsees and go back through that column and say, is that real or is that fancied? Do you know if it's true or not? Dive a little bit deeper into that for me, Nikki, and how that works in your own life and also in your work with others.
Well, this exercise my friend took me to one time when I was losing my mind, and he said, write it out, Nikki. And then he went down, and actually it was my sponsee, and she's been on her. She's a spearhead. I just love this life. And, she like Nikki, like she's ruining my reputation. She's not like all these things I went down or whatever it was. I can't even remember what it was now, but I went through, is that fancied or real? So out of, let's say the 10 things I wrote out, 5 of them were fancy. I'm not even living in reality. So you can just swipe that shit away, Nikki, he said. Just get rid of it, because that's not the reality. And remember, I need 2 to see 1. I can't differentiate the true from the false, says the doctor's opinion. My addict life, my abnormal thinking, my alcoholism is my only normal one. So I need you. That's why 2 or more people gathered together is so powerful. So now he's got me down where 5 of these are brushed apart. So now I'm looking at these 5 that are real. This is real. As David said, like you got a sponsee. This is real. You were raped. This is real. You destroyed your relationship. This is real. Whatever it is, this is real. Your mother's dead. She sold you, whatever it looks like. He left you. He cheated on you. Those are the facts. Look at it. And if you don't accept this, you won't make it, because my book that I believe with the blue, the blue cover, white pages, says acceptance is the answer to all my problems. So you really need to accept that this happened, because the other things aren't real. I mean, think how powerful that is. Think about that, Justin. Like now you're looking at this fancy to real. And then you take your sponsee and my friend showed me, he says, do you see, Nikki, you're not even living in reality and you're not accepting these things. Once you accept these things, you will accept reality. And let's not forget how we're in a magic book, everyone. And I love this 4th edition because I heard they're going to rewrite something and do things. And I hope they don't change this part. The very last paragraph on this book, page 559, like of the stories, and then you get into the appendixes, but it says above your drinking, above your sexing, above your texting, above your anger, above everything. It says, we reject fantasizing and accept reality. And do you know how hard that is? I'm a hardcore fantasy addict. I have a hardcore disease that centers in my mind. So that exercise blew me away, and it blows a lot of people away. And I never have them do it as they're writing it. I have to wait till because if you're thinking about it and you're writing it, you're going to go, is that fancied or real as you're writing it? Don't do that with your sponsees. Let them write everything out. Let them vomit everything and then go back and show them, because you don't want anyone hesitating on anything. Right. And now I'm so good at it. I know to do it in my head that I know when I'm full flight from reality, because I'm always to blame. There's no my part. The book tells me this is a radical program. Everyone tune in real deep. You are always to blame is what the book says. You are always at fault. This is radical. And yes, anything under 18, something's happened to you, you're violated and all the, no, we've gone through that. As an adult, we're not handling things. We're like that. No, we're not to blame as children. But as adults, whatever country you're in, whatever legal age that is, you are always at fault. Somewhere you're not being loving, patient, kind. Somewhere you're not working the four absolutes, bottom line. So radical. I need to be right in the center of you two. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nikki. I appreciate it. We'll go into takeaways here now. I'm going to start off with my takeaways. A couple of them. The real eyes. That was such an eye opener for me. We realized as I look with real eyes that people were wrong, but also, and I shared this in, I was the guest speaker on RICO 12 speaker meeting a few weeks back in the middle of October. And one of the things, the prayers that I focused on was this one, the sick man prayer. This is a sick man. And I didn't notice this before. I thought I was just adding this in on my own, just like me. But a few lines up, they, like ourselves, were sick too. For whatever reason, I'd never drawn that conclusion or that connection before. This is a sick man, just like me. I'm not just adding those words in there. They're there. I need to remember that just like me, how can I be helpful to him? God save me from being angry. Thy will be done. All right, David, what's the takeaway for you from this conversation we've had?
Yeah, and I just I love Nikki's share. Before I go into that, I love her share because that's exactly what I do with the people that I work with as well. Only I do it in the fifth step because there it is more for me to say, okay, is that real? Is that not? Is that real? Is that not? And it just blows them away. And what we see is that even though we're writing prayerfully, we're still somewhat asleep to self because the real wake up is about to come right here. So my takeaway today is a kindly and tolerant view. That's what I like to focus on in my life today. There are a lot of people I feel that have wronged me, and I know there's a hell of a lot of people that I've wronged in my life. But this promises me that I'm going to see them different. I'm going to view them different. And when that happens to me, I know that the spiritual awakening has begun. I just know it. And it's just a beautiful thing. I have to walk through a little darkness to get to the light. And that's what this part of the fourth step does. I have to walk through some dark, ugly things that I don't like to look at. How I've been deceived by a voice that lives within my head that I really thought was God talking to me. But come to find out, it is how I'd been conditioned through a lot of trauma in the past and things like that. And the book calls this self. And it's a deceiver. It deceives us into believing the lie. But remember, last week we looked at, it's an object to discover the truth. And we're talking about the truth about the lie that is within our head. And so once we discover that, once we see its manifestations through this work that we've read about today, now I get to walk to the other side of that. And man, it's a good life. I'd like to tell you I've done that for 30 straight years. I've not. I've stayed sober 30 straight years. I've only walked in it for probably less than 2, to be honest. I've had wonderful experiences through the years, but really I've had that awakening now that I know, not only do I know what defeats me, and I'm not going to talk about that all day from the podium like I used to, but I'm going to talk about who has overcome all of that shit within me. And today is a new day. So grateful to be here, grateful to be part of the RICO 12 family. And thank you guys. I love you.
Thank you, David. Love you too. Nikki, what's a takeaway that you have from our conversation today?
Well, that I'm always to blame. Like I'm the creator of my world, really. Like everything is because of the decisions I've made based on self. But even more than that, you guys, I'm realizing, like David said, I'm just waking up here. I've been here, a while, and not as long as David, and I'm excited for the future. But God save me from being angry. See, more than the money, more than the men, the anger is going to kill me. Page 111, my number people out there, page 111 says, the first principle of success is that I should never be angry. And I'm realizing I have not went one day in the last 12 years in this program without being angry. There's something I'll say, I'll think, as David said, whether it's inward towards me, outward towards you. First principle, everyone, this is a principle-based program, and I have not been successful. I'm doing the work, but God save me from ever being angry again. I love you guys. It's a we, not me. I need you.
Thank you, Nikki. I love how sitting around this round table, insights come in that open each of our eyes to new ways of seeing things, to what God puts into us and invites us to improve on. Thank you, David and Nikki, for being here with me around this round table. To all of you out there, David brought up some templates. If you're interested in getting those templates, send an email to reco12pod@gmail.com. That's reco12pod@gmail.com. I'll make sure that we get those to you. Also, if you're interested in what any of us are doing with our recovery lives, there's links in the show notes of the podcast. You can follow us through all of that. All right. Everybody, keep coming back. Join us in this fellowship of the Spirit and trudge this adventurous and amazing road of happy destiny with us. Work it. You are worth it.